What's up guys, I'm Chirag and welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial, I will take you through how to execute the remote command on an EC2 instance using AWS Lambda function and SSM, that is basically Systems Manager. So let's get started. So let's say we have a scenario where we want to fetch the last access time or the last login into all the running EC2 instances, right? So how we can do that using Lambda function and SSM. So let's see. So to get started, the prerequisite is that AWS SSM agent should be installed on an EC2 instance, right? So mostly the Linux, Ubuntu and Windows AMI have the SSM agent pre-installed, so we don't have to install it manually, right? So if you want to look at the operating system that have SSM agent pre-installed, so as you can see on my screen, these are the list which have that functionality or the agent pre-installed, right? And if you want to know the exact version of the AMI in which SSM agent comes pre-installed, then you can look at this link and you will get the operating system wise breakdown over here, right? So I will paste this link into the video description so you can have a look, right? So let's see what all steps we are going to follow throughout this tutorial. So we will start with the launch of the new EC2 instance, right? Followed by the creation of the IAM role or the instance profile for EC2. So why do we require instance profile or the IAM role for the EC2 instance? So the reason is that by default, AWS Systems Manager doesn't have permission to perform action on your instances, right? So we must explicitly grant access by using an IAM instance profile or the IAM role, right? So that AWS Systems Manager can perform certain action that you want it to, right, on your instances. So that's the reason we need to create instance profile or IAM role for the EC2 instance. And that will be followed by the creation of the IAM role for the Lambda function, followed by the creation of the Lambda function, and finally we will test the functionality, right? So in this case, what we can do is we can create the IAM role for EC2 instance first, and then we will launch the new EC2 instance. So let me it will be something like this, right? So let's get started with the creation of the IAM role for EC2 instance. So navigate to AWS Management Console, search for IAM and navigate to IAM Management Console. Now once you are within IAM Management Console, click on roles from the left panel, say create role. Select EC2 as a service because we are creating this role or we are creating the instance profile for the EC2, right? So that's the reason we need to select EC2 as a service. Click on next permission. So here we need to attach one policy, that is Amazon SSM. Let's search for that. It's going to be the Amazon SSM manage instance core, right? So check this box and say next tags. Give it a tag if you want. Say next review. Give it a role name. So I will say EC2 underscore command underscore lambda underscore SSM, right? And say create role. Now the EC2 command lambda SSM role has been created successfully. Now the next step is to launch the EC2 instance. So click on services, navigate to EC2 management console. Now once you are there within EC2 management console, scroll down to launch instance and say launch instance. Now here we will select Ubuntu server 18.04 as the operating system. So select that. Within instance type, I will say t2.micro. Click on next, configure instance details. Now here we will configure the IAM roles. So select the role that we have just created. So in my case, it's EC2 command lambda SSM. And say next, add storage. We will leave it as it is. Say add tags. I will add a name tag saying SSM. Say next, configure security group. I will select an existing security group because all I need is port number 22. So I will say Docker Flask maybe, and say review and launch. Say launch. Choose an existing key pair, or if you want you can create the new key pair. I will choose the existing one and I say I acknowledge and launch instance. Now here we have the instance that is in pending state. Now what is the third step? So we need to create the IAM role for the Lambda. So go back to IAM management console, click on roles from the left panel, say create role. Now here select Lambda as a service because we are creating this IAM role for the Lambda function. Say next permission. Now here we will attach 3 permission, that is AWS Lambda execute, AWS Lambda execute, followed by Amazon EC2 read only access. So the reason that we are assigning or attaching this policy, it's because we will fetch the instance ID, right? We will fetch the instance ID of all the running instance dynamically from the Lambda function. So that's the reason Lambda function should be able to read information from EC2, right? And the very last policy is Amazon SSM. We will say full access, right? So at this point of time, I am attaching Amazon SSM full access, but you might want to narrow down the permission by creating the custom policy for this, and you might want to avoid giving full access, right? So you can go ahead and create the custom policy and attach it with this role, right? So to avoid unnecessary permission. So once you're done with this, click on next drags, next review. Give it a role name. I will say Lambda underscore SSM underscore EC2 and say create role. Now we have successfully created the role for the Lambda function. Now the fourth step is to create the Lambda function. So navigate to Lambda management console, click on services, search for Lambda, and you are here. Now once you are within Lambda management console, click on functions from the left panel, say create function, give it a name. I will say Lambda underscore EC2 underscore SSM. I will select runtime as Python 3.8 within permission, choose an existing role. Select the role that we have just created, that is SSM, that is Lambda SSM EC2, and say create function. Now once you are done with this, we need to write some code within the function code panel. So I will quickly open GitHub. I have already pushed the code over there, that is github.com/srcecde. And I have this repo that is AWS tutorial code. So Lambda, and here it is, that is Lambda EC2 underscore SSM. So we are going to use this code. So I will quickly copy this code and paste it over here, and I will say save this. Now I will quickly take you through this code, right? So here we are using 3 packages, that is time, JSON, and Boto3, right? Now on line number 14, we are creating the Boto3 client for EC2 service and Boto3 client for SSM service, right? So the reason that we are creating client for EC2 is because we need to fetch the information about the running instance. So in this case, we need instance ID of all the running instances, right? And that's what we are doing on line number 18. we are calling describe instances, right? So we are basically getting instance information, and then on line number 20 we have defined one empty list in which we will basically append the instance ID, right? And then on line number 22 we are fetching not public IP in this case, it's going to be the instance ID of the running instances, right? And we are looping through the dictionary and we are appending the instance ID of the running instances. So if you can see on line number 24, I have defined a condition saying if and only if when the instance is in running state, then only I want to append that instance ID within this list, right? And finally on line number 27, we are looping through that list for all the running instances, right? And then on line number 28, we are using SSM, that is basically the Boto3 client that we have defined on line number 15, followed by the .send command, which accepts multiple parameters, but we are passing only 3 parameters over here. So the first one is instance IDs, where we need to pass on the list of instance ID on which we want to run this command, followed by the document name. So basically this document name is basically the systems manager document, right? So basically an AWS systems manager document defines the action that systems manager performs on your managed instance, right? So basically it defines the action. So in this case, the action that we want to perform is basically the execution of the command, right? So systems manager includes many pre-configured documents that you can use by specifying parameters at runtime, as you can see on my screen. So here we have defined, or we have used the document name, that is AWS-run shell script, right? So these are basically the templates. So let me show you that. Let me go to systems manager. And within systems manager, if you scroll down to documents under shared resources, right? So here we have so many predefined templates, right? So here we have document type as automation, then document type as command, and so on, right? So you can directly use this template to execute certain functionality, right? For example, you want to apply some patch, then you can use this AWS-apply patch baseline document, right? So in our case, we have used the run shell script command, right? So if I copy this and search over here, then it should be there. Here it is, right? So if you select this document type, then it will give you a window if you are executing that command from systems manager, where you need to type in all the commands that you want to execute, right? And then you can configure that and you can run those commands, right? But in terms of Boto3, we do something like this, that is document name AWS run shell script, followed by the parameters and followed by a dictionary, right? That is commands and the list of commands that we want to execute. So here I want to execute only one command, that is last, right? So I will quickly SSH into an instance, and I will also show you that if I execute last command over there, then what kind of information it gives us. So at this point of time, let's finish going through the code and then I will show you that. Now, once we are done with sending the command, on line number 33, we are fetching the command ID that we are executing on the instance. And then on line number 35, we are saying time.sleep for 3 seconds. The reason we are doing that, some commands or few commands take some time to execute that, right? So we cannot directly get the information of that execution, right? So we are saying time.sleep for 3 seconds. And then on line number 37, again, we are using SSM Boto3 client followed by the get command invocation, right? So this will basically gives us the information about the command that we have passed as a part of the send underscore command, right? And it accepts multiple parameters, but we are passing 2, that is command ID, that we will get on line number 33, followed by the instance ID on which instance that we have executed, right? So, and that's it. And then finally we will have the output of that command on line number 41 that we are printing, right, as a part of the output. So let me save this. Now before we go ahead and start running this Lambda function, the very first thing that we have to do is navigate to basic settings, say edit, and we need to increase the timeout to maybe 1 minute, right? And I will say save. Apart from that, before we go ahead and run this Lambda function, let me pull in the terminal and let me show you the last command output by SSH into an instance. So I will copy this public IP, navigate to terminal. I will say SSH-I, that stands for identity file, followed by the identity file, that is flash.pem in my case, followed by the username. So that's going to be the ubuntu @ the public IP. Say enter. Now we are in the instance, right? So let me run last, enter. As you can see, here we have the information about login, right? So it says logged in from this IP, the timestamp, and the status, right? Still logged in. Now let me disconnect from here and try to log in again. So this log should be updated. Let me exit from here. Let me re-log in into an instance. Clear this out. I will say last, enter. Now as you can see, we have one more record that is being added as a part of the log, right? And it says the status as still logged in, right? And if you look at the second record, then it says logged out at 15:17, and the overall duration for which the user has been logged in into this instance, right? Now we want to fetch this information and we want to execute this last command remotely from the Lambda function, right? Let's go ahead and run that Lambda function now. So here we are. I will say test, create the event. Now let's test the Lambda function. And it ran successfully. Here we have the details, status code 200, body as thanks from SRC ECDE, and here we have the output. Let's have a look into this in the CloudWatch logs. So here we are, we have this log, and here it is. It's saying command ID followed by the instance ID, command if we have passed anything, document name that we have passed as a part of the send underscore command, followed by the document version, plugin name, response code, execution start time of the command, execution elapsed time, right, end time, and whatnot. The status of the execution of the command is success, and here we have the status details, right? And you will get the output within this, that is standard output content. Now as you can see here, we have the outcome that is ubuntu pts/0. If we look at and compare to this, then it's similar, right? ubuntu pts/0 followed by the IP address ends with 127, Friday sep 11:15:17 still logged in, right? Followed by the another record and so on. So it will be showing you all the records, or you will be able to see the full outcome within standard output content. So now all you need to do is parse that dictionary. Now for example, you want to store this logs into the S3 bucket, then all you need to do is parse this output, fetch this key that is standard output content, prepare the CSV or the text file that you want, and upload it to the S3, right? So I have already did a tutorial on how we can upload the data onto the S3 from the Lambda function. If you want, I will paste that link into the video description. You might want to check that out, right? But apart from that, one thing I missed to show you is how we can check whether the SSM or the AWS SSM agent is installed in the given operating system or not. So while you are in Ubuntu, the command is sudo snap list amazon-ssm-agent. Right, so here it is. As you can see, here we have the name, version, revision, tracking, publisher, nodes, right, and we have this installed and running. Right, so this is how you can check whether the AWS SSM agent is installed or not. Now for example, you have the Linux operating system or the Windows operating system. The things might differ, right, on how you check whether it is installed or not, right? So a little bit different command that you need to execute for those operating system. I might maybe I will paste the link of those list of commands that will let you know whether the AWS SSM agent is installed or not on the given operating system, right? And if it is not pre-installed, then you might want to, or you might need to install the AWS SSM agent manually. So let me know if you want me to take you through on how to install SSM agent manually in the given operating system. If you want, let me know. I will do a separate tutorial on that. And I think that's all for this tutorial. And as usual, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then again, please leave them below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you.